That was the best Pacers win I've seen this year. They look great in Miami. Tyrese Haliburton was exceptional. The team followed his lead. Jarace Walker continues to be good. Pacers crushed the Heat and break Jimmy Butler, and we'll break it all down today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Friday. Congrats, you made it through the week, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, lots to discuss. From Pacers Heat down in Miami. Pacers take the lead in the season series over the Heat, get back on track after a crummy loss. Don't blow a big lead this time. In fact, hold a double-digit lead for almost 40 consecutive minutes. Tyrese Haliburton was awesome. Jarace Walker keeps rolling. Jimmy Butler's spirits have exploded, apparently, according to reports. Much to discuss. Pacers end up crushing the Heat down in Miami. Got, I guess, a little close in the fourth quarter. 13-point win in the end. Does not tell the story of the game very well. Pacers, again, went up by 10-plus with 2:30-something to go in the first quarter, and we're up 10-plus the rest of the game. They were comfortably ahead the whole time. And the story of the game, to me, and to anyone who watched it, I hope, is how great Tyrese Haliburton was. And specifically how, one, he set the tone, and how, two, that tone continued and permeated to the rest of the team. And I'll explain what I mean as I talk about the game. But Tyrese Haliburton was amazing, first of all. 33 points. That is, I believe, his third most of the season. If I change tabs, yes, that is his third most of the season. I hope the video component of this doesn't lag as much as it did yesterday. Apologies for that. 33 points. Excellent as a scorer in this game, right? 21 shots. People keep saying he's got to be aggressive like this every game. I feel like if he could, he would, right? There's something about either him or the way he's being covered or the way the Pacers are playing offense that doesn't make it all the time constant possible. Rick Carlisle discussing that balance after the game and how he's talked to Tyrese about the balance. And the thing that made this an interesting game to talk about the balance is it wasn't just the scoring. 15 assists for Tyrese Haliburton, his most of the season. Let's run through the scoring, then we'll do the passing, and then we'll do another stat that even ties that all even together more. 33 points on 21 shots. Excellent game. Haliburton, he hit 6 of his 13 threes in this game, was drilling them from three. The exact moment I knew Haliburton was due for a big game was in the first quarter. He hit his first 3 threes. Him and Siakam were scoring a lot early, which is generally great news for the Pacers. And then he missed his fourth 3, I believe. And then he took a fifth 3 and missed it. But the fifth one he missed bounced right out to where he was, just a couple steps over to the left to get to the top of the key. And he just got the offensive rebound and shot it and hit a 3. And that was his fourth made 3. And I thought, oh, man, if he's confident enough to keep shooting the heat checks after he missed a heat check and the ball bounced right to him and he scored, might just be your night. And it was. He had 16 points in the first quarter of this game, right? He was rock solid early as a scorer. The Heat could not stop him. And he had 5 assists in the first quarter. Very obvious early signs that it was going to be a good game for him. And the shot didn't stay the whole night. 6 for 13 in the end. That's still very good. But 13 for 21 in total. So 7 for 8 on twos. You all know how I feel about assessing Tyrese Haliburton's performance and throwing in the line about twos because it's generally a good indicator of what kind of game he had, both the attempts and the makes. And today he was great at both, right? He could get past his man. The Heat have some good defenders, but none on the perimeter, I would say, especially if Jimmy Butler plays like that. I mean, you'll have to check out Locked On Heat. Jimmy Butler, is he even trying? I texted Wes Goldberg during the game. I said, the next time Jimmy Butler sprints will be the first time he sprinted this game. Either way, the Pacers took advantage, and Haliburton did not have anyone who could really stay in front of him. And so he got by guys or got to his 3, and the Pacers played through him more than Andrew Nembhard. They've had some games recently where playing through Nembhard made more sense. Tonight, Nembhard only had 7 shots, right? And was reeled in a little bit. And that made a ton of sense for Haliburton. He kept going the rest of the game, 17 points the rest of the way, 10 assists the rest of the way, 5 rebounds. 3 of those came in the first quarter. The first quarter he was just exceptional, right? 2 steals and a block for Haliburton. Plus 26. No one else in the Pacers was better than plus 15. That was Ben Mathurin, right? When Haliburton was out there, the Pacers were way better than the Heat. Way better. That means they were minus 13 with him not on the floor, right? Not that the bench was terrible, but they weren't very good. And so big time game from Haliburton as a scorer. They are still, as of this moment, undefeated when he goes over 30 points. That's a lot to ask for a guy, for anybody. But still, if he can reach that level, they have a good chance of winning because he's that kind of player and he has that kind of ability. And the distribution coming with it is just, they're unstoppable, right? That is his highest assist total of the season. The only other time he had highest to this was his 35-14 game against the Knicks. They won. He had 35-13 against the Pelicans. They won, right? If he has this kind of offensive output, he looks amazing. And the team's offense hums and they win games. And in general, his high scoring games, regardless of that arbitrary cutoff of 30, have been good for the Pacers. If he's over 20 points in a game this season, this was the 12th time that Tyrese Haliburton in 36 games has been over 20 points. They have 2 losses when he's over 20. One was to Philly, their second worst performance of the season to me, the home game, their second game of the season. And one was that game in Toronto where he had 30 and they lost. So other than that, they win. If he's over 20, not over 30, over 20. So his scoring has been a good indicator, and they have found ways to win when he hasn't been doing that. But obviously, it helps when a guy who has the ball all the time is putting the ball in the basket. And he did so today. I wouldn't even say there was some one thing that the Pacers can go, oh, that's changed, that's different, that's something we can go to the well on with Haliburton over and over. Let's do that. He was just getting shots that he likes and making them, whether it was threes at the rim. He got the floater going. He had the long 2 jumper when he thinks he gets fouled going. Everything was possible because of how great he was in this game. And I haven't even said the stat that ties it all together. It's 0, and that's his number of turnovers. These games are the ones that blow my mind for Tyrese Haliburton more than any. He has 0 turnover games. Don't get me wrong. It's like some point guards just do that. On the season, this is his 3rd 0 turnover game, right? He's done this before. But it blows my mind that he can have the ball as much as he does in a game where he's scoring this much and distributing this much and not turn it over once. That's crazy. His other 0 turnover games this season were 31-7 in Boston, just happened when he was dominating inside the arc, and 16-13 against the Miami Heat, funnily enough, when they beat the Heat at home that 2 days after their pathetic effort game. So they, first of all, won both of those 0 turnover games for him. But it's so amazing, that level of 15 assists, no turnovers, or 33 points, no turnovers. Both of those stat lines individually would be good, but he pairs them all together. It's just remarkable. And I saw that, I did not verify this myself, but I saw a couple posts about it, which makes me hope that more than one person researched this and they're not just copying someone else. Either way, I believe I saw that there have been 2 instances in NBA history of a player having 30 or more points, 15 or more assists, and 0 turnovers in a game. One was Tyrese Haliburton last season, and one was Tyrese Haliburton in this game. Right. That's just exceptional. That's so hard to do. And it really set the tone for a lot of the stuff that went well for the Pacers in this game. But generically, he scored very well, and the Pacers scored very well. Even when the Heat were like chipping at it in this fourth quarter, I think it got down to 12 from 20-something. Never felt like the Pacers were going to lose. Maybe some did because the Pacers just blew lead against the Bucks. But when they blew lead against the Bucks, they looked helpless for 18 minutes. When they blew a small part of their lead against the Heat, they looked bad for like 4 minutes. And all night, their offense had been awesome. And I was like, okay, they'll get back to that in the win. And sure enough, they did. And he had 0 turnovers, and the Pacers were a low turnover team in this game. I'll get to that in more detail in the second segment here. But 6 turnovers for the Pacers in total, half of them from one player. Very impressive. 15 assists for Tyrese Haliburton. They had 35 as a team. That's exceptional. I believe that's their second most. Yes, that's correct. Assists of the season. Their only game with more was in Sacramento, which was one of their other very convincing wins this season. As of 10 days ago, this would have been their best assist night of the year. And you guys know what I said at the time, when they are 30 assists or higher, they have now done that 14 times. They're 12-2. And that's so obvious. Like, yes, made shots are going to make it easier to win, and assist means there's a made shot. But still, Haliburton was passing, the team was passing. Haliburton took care of the ball, the team took care of the ball. Haliburton was scoring, the team was for the Pacers, how they wanted to play, what they wanted to do, and how the Heat just couldn't stop them at all. There was never a moment where I felt like the Pacers were just totally sputtering on offense. Even though there were a few bench moments that looked ugly, they very quickly figured it out. Tyrese Haliburton was responsible for it all. He set the tone early. He kept his foot on the gas, and there went the Pacers. Awesome game from a star player. For him, it's going to be about keeping these going in some sort of way. And on the same day that it comes out that he's not in the top 10 vote getters for guards in the East, he probably shouldn't be, but you never knew if the popularity contest would matter. He did finish first place last year. Great game from Haliburton. Nice win for the Pacers. I want to talk about plenty more stuff that the Pacers did well to win, despite the Heat's offense on paper being pretty good and Haliburton setting the tone for a lot of those things. Now I want to talk about them from a team level before we get to any of that, though. We need to talk about the great people over at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs, they're almost here. The NBA season is rolling. It's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel. They are America's #1 sportsbook because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W, like betting on which players are going to score a touchdown or how many points each team is going to score. It's absolutely thrilling. You can also do the classic over-unders, first touchdown scores, spreads, money lines, whatever you're into. FanDuel's got them and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel. They are an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Make your second listen Locked On Heat because, one, I guess we'll talk about this game, but two, have a lot to discuss. Came out after the game. Jimmy Butler maybe doesn't want to play for the Heat anymore and would like to play for literally any other team. Per the reporting, he did a post-game press conference and said he wants to get his joy back for basketball. Doesn't think he can do it in Miami. If you missed all that, Locked On Heat, we'll break it down for you. If they talk about this game at all, we'll see. But again, I texted somebody. I said, does it even look like he's sprinting? He looked terrible. I mean, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought he was like injured or sick. Like he didn't move well at all. He didn't do anything, and we'll talk about that later. But that was something I discussed as potentially being important for the Pacers, and it was. A couple of things stood out to me as impressive for the Pacers, and I'm going to work backwards to get to them. And I need to work backwards because let's talk about some stats from this game. The Heat, the Miami Heat, the losing basketball team on the floor in this game, shot 57.3% from the field. They actually scored okay. Not good, but okay in this game. They were 11 for 26 from three. That's 42.3%. That's very good. They were 18 for 11 from the foul line. That's pretty good. If you told the Heat that before the game, they would have taken that. They would have been like, yep, sweet. That's a good game, right? Well, they lost. And the Pacers shot 53.1%. That's over 4% worse. And the Pacers shot 17 for 40, which is 0.2% better from three. That's better, but it's the same. And the Pacers were 9 for 16 from the foul line. They made 9 fewer free throws, and some of their threes certainly offset that. But either way, and from an efficiency perspective, a lot of signs were like, hey, the Heat might have had a pretty good game. Khalil Ware, who I know all well, was amazing. 25 points on 11 shots. Terry Rozier was pretty good. Bam Adebayo, stars later, but the Heat had good stuff going for themselves on offense, and they got smoked. They could not get within 10. What happened here? What did the Pacers do so well to keep the Heat away? They defended fine. They defended with their offense in a way that is very rare for the Pacers to do. Not that they can't or don't. They just very rarely have had this be a reality for them in this kind of era of their team. What do I mean by that? The possession battle. Something I just talked about after the Bucks game. Something that's been important for the Pacers in improving their defense was huge in this game. Just talked about Haliburton. He had the ball all the time in this game. He had 0 turnovers. That's obviously very important. He also had an offensive rebound. It's just going to come up in a second. The Pacers as a team had 6 turnovers in this game. Ben Mathurin had 3 by himself. 2 of them were in the first quarter. Good reads, bad passes. He should be crushed for that kind of reality, but I'm okay with him making the read. Either way, 6 turnovers. 2 from McConnell, 3 from Mathurin, 1 from Toppin. That's it for the whole game. The Heat had 14. 14's not even awful. It's not good, but it's not bad. They were down 8 in the turnover battle, and that was a huge thing for the Pacers in this game. They took advantage of those turnovers as well. Pacers 23-9 advantage in points off turnovers and 19-12 in fast break points, right? They did a good job getting in the open floor, and turnovers are a big part of that. But in general, what the turnover difference of 8 meant is the Pacers got more shot attempts. They had the ball more often, right? It's a big deal. And that's not the end of the story. The Heat had 5 offensive rebounds, 3 from Bam, 1 from Haywood Highsmith, 1 from Jaime Jaquez. The Pacers had 13 offensive rebounds. Pascal Siakam almost matched the Heat by himself. He had 4, 3 for Andrew Nembhard, 2 for Ben Shepherd, and 1 for a bunch of guys. That is a +8 offensive rebound advantage as well. That is 16 possessions just there that the Pacers get from turnovers and offensive rebounds. The Heat took more free throws, so that's a few more possessions, let's say 3 or 4. And in the end, what did that amount to? The Pacers took 21 more shots than the Heat in this game. Kyle Taylor, my new goat of finding awesome stats on Twitter, said after the game, this was the first time that spread's been there. More than 20 shot difference. Not ever, but like in the season, I believe. I'm trying to dig it up right now because I wondered that myself. But that is just remarkable. I mean, that is an unbelievable swing. There it is. This is the first time in the last 2 seasons the Pacers have won the field goal attempts battle by 20 plus shots, and they had a effective field goal percentage over 60. I mean, they just smoked them. And the Pacers offense was good. They scored 128. They were humming. They were moving the ball. They were scoring. All the stuff Haliburton did I talked about. But the possession battle was the difference elsewhere because the Heat did good stuff. Like they had unlikely guys step up in a way that could have neutralized some of the Pacers' other good stuff. Didn't matter at all. The Pacers were totally comfortable all night because they just had all these chances. And then even when they were playing bad, they got offensive rebounds. Andrew Nembhard had a huge one-handed, left-handed to get a possession line. Ben Shepherd had a few crucial ones. All of a sudden, Pacers have the ball back, and they're good. They're happy, and they're off and running once again. So I thought that was a major, major part of this game, is that even though the Heat offense looked good, the Pacers defended with their offense. And their defense was fine. It wasn't good. It was fine in a way that was really important. So I liked that for the Pacers. It's very rare to see a game this lopsided in that way, but especially against a very disciplined Heat team. But they didn't look like a disciplined Heat team tonight. Again, Jimmy Butler was something goofy. I mean, he did not play well. And here's what I said yesterday in my many Heatisms leading into this game was the Pacers have to slow at least one of their big three. Carlisle gushing about Tyler Hero before the game, who has an all-star case. He's been a great scorer this season. Bam's amazing. Jimmy is amazing when he's trying. Who knows what he was doing in this game. I said they had to slow one of them to give themselves a chance. They slowed 2 of them, I thought, pretty well. Hero, 17 points on 12 shots. Prior to this season, that would have been like about what he would give you kind of night, maybe a little bit more than that. This season, that's a very good defensive performance. He's been a beast. In the third quarter, I think it was the third quarter, might have been second quarter, his threes were really falling in a way that felt like it might change the trajectory of the game. Nembhard did a good job on him. Mathurin did a good job on him for a few trips. That was good defense from the Pacers. Bam was the best of these guys. He is 8 for 12 for 20 points. He had some free throws drop. His defense was great. But the Pacers picked on him on the other end of the floor, amazingly. Myles Turner hit a lot of jumpers. And the Pacers did a good job against a zone. Some of that was because Myles Turner was hitting jumpers from the middle. But credit to the Pacers for at least neutralizing Bam better than normal. And you know what else neutralized Bam is he didn't play much in the fourth quarter because Khalil Ware was playing so well and scoring so much that they just left Bam out. And Jimmy Butler barely played in the fourth because he was not good. He had 9 points on 6 shots. You didn't feel his presence at all. Minus 27 with him on the floor were the Miami Heat. So big things to adjust from the last game for the Pacers. The possession battle, check. Beat his own defense, check. Not blow a huge lead, mostly check. All the stuff that went wrong for them one game ago, they covered up, and they did the stuff they had to do to beat a Heat team that is close to top 10 in both offense and defense. They neutralized their stars. They scored whenever they wanted. They moved the ball very well. They played random. They played Pacers basketball. Miami, they've played well there the last couple seasons. Haliburton has, and the Pacers really did. As a team in this game, they deserve a lot of credit for stepping up. The Heat deserve a lot of, as they say on Locked On Heat, blame pie for not really showing up on a back-to-back at all, and this is where they're at. They're going to be a very interesting team for the next couple of weeks, and the Pacers now tied with them with 17 wins. That is the 6th most wins in the East. Pacers are in 8th because they have a lot of losses because they've played more than other teams. I ran through that why that's the case on yesterday's show if you want to hear more about that. But that's their reality. They get this big win, and there's 2 other guys I thought stood out that I want to get to, plus a couple much smaller things from this game. Jarace Walker, Myles Turner were awesome. How and why, and Jarace might be on the best run of his career. We'll get to all that to close out today's Locked On Pacers. One more break here, guys, so we can talk about the great people over at Gametime. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories, like many, attending sporting events last year. Went to so many Pacers games and Fever games. Energy and excitement are unforgettable at live events. And Gametime has made it even easier for you to attend live events and get tickets to those events with their new feature, Gametime Picks. This feature filters out the fluff and only shows you incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. If you're looking for something like a Pacers game, you can use the Gametime app, and they'll use that Picks feature to find those amazing deals. See your seat view before you buy. They have their super deals that are super impressive. They offer you great seats at unbeatable prices. What's better than that? Plus, their all-in pricing shows you the total cost up front. No surprise fees at checkout. Thumbs up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. Back here on Locked On Pacers, thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Again, Locked On Heat should be your second listen. I can't urge you enough because of the Jimmy Butler part and the actual basketball game part of this. Wolves Celtics was very good. Locked On Wolves and Locked On Celtics should also be good choices for your second listen. And Charles Barkley went ham on JJ Redick during a TNT halftime show. Apparently, Locked On Lakers could be a good place to go for that. I need to watch that in more detail. I've only read about what was said. Let's wrap this one up. Good game for the Pacers to get back in the win column. First win of 2025. Undefeated in this calendar year. Thomas Bryant is undefeated in Pacers Heat games this year that he actually plays in. Let's talk about Myles Turner first. Myles Turner was great. Pacers' second leading scorer in this game with 21 points. He did it with some threes. He did it in the paint. I thought the most important thing he did, I already talked about, was the way he scored against his zone, right? Something I mentioned after the Bucks game was I felt like the Pacers did an okay job against Milwaukee of flashing middle, which is what you're supposed to do against a zone, right? That's the spot below the guys at the top, but above the guys at the bottom. It forces someone to either come down or come up and opens up a spot on the floor where you like to get a shot from. That's all great. Everybody understands that, right? The Pacers did too. Against the Bucks, they got the ball there. What they did from there was often very concerning to me, whether it was not cutting, not attacking the rim, not making the shot, not just the wrong outcomes of plays a lot. Misses are okay, but when there's a lot of them, that's the wrong outcome. They did great from the middle of the zone today against the Heat, who are a very good zone team. And some of it was just shooting, just catching it in there and turning and putting it in the basket. That's what Myles did when he caught the ball there a few times. That made him a zone buster in a way that is not traditional zone busting, but it worked very well. He hit 2 threes. He had some nice finishes. The Heat were too willing to switch smalls onto bigs. That allowed Siakam and Turner to have some finishes around the basket. They both had 8 shots in this game, and most of them were 2-pointers. Siakam also very good with 18 and 11. I feel bad that I'm not talking about him more. But Turner did a good job with that as well. His defense was very impressive early. He did a good job walling off the rim. I thought he was a good tone setter in this game and a good play finisher in a way that was really important for the Pacers to get a good, even chance in the center battle. In fact, I could argue pretty easily he outplayed Bam, right? The rebounding battle, advantage Bam, but the points battle, the shooting battle, I thought the defense battle, all advantage Myles Turner. And that's a matchup that's typically gone Bam's way back since that World Cup in 2019. But tonight it was Myles Turner, who did very well on both ends in a tough matchup. And that was huge for the Pacers. Early in this game, they were matching him and Bam's minutes, right? They would come in and out at the same times, change up the Pacers' front court rotation, led to some different lineups and at different times. You know, Siakam's rotation in the first half was much different, but it all worked out because Turner played so well. Toppin filled in well. Thomas Bryant hit his first three when it came in. The whole front court really deserves a lot of praise for how they handled that changed circumstance and what this game was. But Turner, matched to a specific player's minutes and played well, was important. And he ends up playing more than Bam because Khalil Ware played the whole fourth, basically, and more than Bam there, but Turner still came back in the game. Anyway, really good night from him. Pacers don't win this one if he's not that effective against that zone. Jarace Walker, once again, stacking some good games. He's had a nice stretch of scoring plus doing something else. Today, he did not do that. He only did the scoring, but he still did it. He had 12 points on 3 for 6 in this game. All of his makes were threes. He missed all of his twos with 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal. Jarace Walker, 5 games in a row scoring in double figures now. And that's not like he's clearing an absurd bar, but given what his career was before this and the fact that he's played now 35 games this season, he's approaching last season's total. He might have already passed it, but he's done a wonderful job this last week or so in a very major way for this team. Very efficient in all these games. In fact, all 5 games now that he's been in double figures, he's shot 50% or better from the field. I'd have to check his last significant stretch of scoring, but this is without a doubt the best he's played ever, which is hilarious because on Christmas I did this whole segment about how should the Pacers manage their minutes when Nesmith returns, and now I'd probably revise that a little bit because Jarace has played this well. I'd probably take more minutes from Thomas Bryant than Jarace to make that work. Regardless, Jarace has played quite a bit. This was actually the fewest minutes he's played in the 5-game stretch, 13-20, but he's played at least that in all 5. He's finished plays in all of them. In 2 of them, he was awesome on the glass. In 1 of them, he was great with his passing. In 2 of them, he had multiple steals. He is playing awesome basketball recently. Not awesome like changing, well, kind of changing games. Not awesome in terms of like what you think of with stars, but awesome compared to his expectation and what he set as his expectation. He looks really good. He's defending okay. He's not gambling. He's staying in front of guys. He's grabbing boards. He's passing. He's making shots consistently. And sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes shots go in and guys look good. And, I wondered this, and I wrote about this late in December after I did that podcast about Aaron of like, what is it that is really the difference between good Jarace and bad Jarace, right? What is the game? How does the game take shape differently in those games? Because I can kind of tell with most guys on this team. In fact, I would say I could tell with everybody except for Jarace Walker at times. And so he even described his own season as having ups and downs to this point, right? But, I think the biggest difference in his eyes was, all mental. And I think something has clicked for him in these last 5 or 6 games that may not last forever in this season. It's only a second year. He's played like 60-something games, but he looks very confident right now. He's confident with his shot, where he's supposed to go, when he's supposed to do stuff, how he can use his size and physicality at the position he's playing. Not surprising to me that adding a center and putting Jarace Walker at the position he played in all offseason has really helped him play better. Really good stretch from Jarace here. The last 10 games of December, he averaged 9 points, 3 rebounds per game on 52, 40, 75 splits. That's before this game is added into his splits, right? He's playing very well. Definitely the best stretch of his career. Pacers, again, don't win without him. The whole front court, everybody who you consider a front court player, was very good in this game. Thomas Bryant came in, immediately hit a 3. That was pretty backbreaking and important. Siakam was awesome with 18, 11, and 4, and no turnovers. No, basically everybody who played just assumed they had no turnovers. And Siakam was like Turner, like I said. They kept switching onto him too easily, and he's so good at those early steals anyway. The second he feels a switch, he just turns around and gets down there. The Heat send a double. He moves the ball, 4 assists. Really nice game from him. Obi Toppin, his pace has always been good against Miami. That's why he played over 20 minutes in this game. He had 6 boards and 12 points. His best game since the injury, definitely. He looked fully back to me in this one. Just a great front court game from the Pacers. Not the backcourt wasn't good. Nembhard and Mathurin were a combined 8 for 19. Like, it's not awesome, but they did great stuff defensively, especially on Hero, a little bit on Rozier. Nembhard had 6 assists and no turnovers. Like, they both played good games for different reasons. And this is what it has taken and what it's going to take for the Pacers to keep looking competent and comfortable is just team effort, right? Every night. They have had everybody playing the role that they're supposed to and playing it pretty well for 2 or 3 weeks now. Off the bench, McConnell got going in the second half. He finished with 8 points and 4 boards on over 50% from the field. Ben Shepherd hit a 3 and defended well. Already talked about Jarace. This is what it takes for the Pacers to be their best, for their depth to be a superpower. Their depth has to play well, and it has. I'd be making up a game, but since they played Philly on the road, I would say in mid-December. Since then, everybody's been at least playing capable. Their defense has been better. Their offense has a higher peak. They're moving the ball. Everybody is just bought into what the Pacers are doing right now, and that is how they beat the Heat and got to 17 and 18. The Suns coming up next Saturday night, so no podcast tomorrow. I do not do them on the weekends unless there's games. But then Sunday, we'll talk post-Suns, and then Monday, we'll get back on the normal schedule with hopefully a guest. Holidays are done. I can finally not feel like I'm bothering people, but catch up on the topics du jour and see if the Pacers can be 500 or even over 500 by next week. Their schedule does start to ease up between now and the trade deadline. It's not easy by any means. They still play the Cavs a bunch in there, but it gets easier. This was the end of their really toughest part of their schedule this season, and they come out better than they looked like they could be in the middle of it. So kudos to them for that. I am on Twitter at Tony R. East, and this podcast is on there as well at Locked On Pacers. And my Blue Sky account is also at Tony R. East. That's the best ways to reach me, or commenting down below on YouTube. Hopefully, for you YouTube people, this one went better than the last one. Streaming software has been pooey recently. I'll for sure find a way to fix it by tomorrow, or by Saturday. Thank you guys for listening. Have a wonderful day. We will see you very soon.